Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this public meeting. We are excited to share an update on the construction and planning for a new middle school. On behalf of the school building committee, many of the members are here. We want to welcome you all. Would like to recognize some of my colleagues. School committee member Brian Castellanos, school committee member Lorraine Gately, school committee member Eric Dugan, school committee member Donna Capola, Ward 5 Counselor Diana Chakoutis, Ward 2 Counselor Rick Starbird, as well as school committee member Tiffany Magnolia. Thank you all for being here. We're also joined by various city officials and members of the Pickering School Building Committee. Tonight is an update on the progression of the process for the new Pickering Middle School. We're excited to be sharing this update to keep you all informed. The School Building Committee has made it a goal to try to be as transparent as possible, to be proactively providing this kind of information. And we are also in the midst of the permitting process as an environmental justice community as part of the approvals that we are seeking and obtaining, and so this meeting is part of our outreach for that as well. So many people, I see a lot of familiar faces. I think you all recognize that this is a top priority for the city. You can see being in this building right now that it needs to be updated, and we also as a district face incredible challenges, opportunities, but challenges with the number of students we have and our goal to make sure that we have appropriate spaces for all those students. I know it's a goal that the Lynn Public Schools thinks about every day, and we're honored to have everybody here from the Lynn Public Schools team, including our new superintendent, Dr. Alvarez, here as well. And everyone on the school committee, all of my colleagues in government on the council and throughout the city recognize the urgency of this project, the imperative of this project, the opportunity it presents. And so I want to thank you all for being here. We will have plenty of time at the end of the presentation for questions and welcome any thoughts, and would like now to turn it over to our project manager from LeftField, Lynn Stapleton.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the project team, Raymond Design Associates, BSC Group, and LeftField, we wanted to welcome you all here tonight. If anyone needs translation, we have interpreters here in Spanish, Portuguese, Arabic, Haitian Creole, and there's Khmer. Yep. If anyone needs translation, if you could raise your hand, we can put you with an interpreter.
Do you want to say that in Spanish? Do you want to say that in Spanish?
Yes.
Si alguien necesita interpretación, si alguien necesita un intérprete, hay servicios de interpretación. Y levanta su mano, por favor.
Okay, thank you. I'll turn it over to Adrian Lennon to start the presentation.
Great. I'm going to take this mic. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate your coming out. I know the city really appreciates your coming out. I'm sure it's a lot of familiar faces for people involved in the project. To introduce myself, I'm Adrian Lennon. I am a senior ecologist and environmental planner with BSC Group. We are contracted specifically for the purpose of carrying this project through multi-agency environmental permitting with the Commonwealth and also locally here. So the purpose of this presentation is to really go over the thresholds of this project that require us to present before the state how we are going to be impacting the site and the community in the context of the environment, climate change, and public health. So beginning with the team, I'd like to highlight some people in the audience who are participating on the design team with the project. Danielle Smith is over in the corner here with the mayor's office, Michael Sullivan, city planner, Laura Stockfish, and Lauren Drago with the city and the City of Lynn School Building Committee. I know many of you are here tonight as well. Sure.
We need to be able to share this PowerPoint on Zoom.
You have to join the Zoom link.
Ooh, how do we do that? Fun. It's not my computer. Let's do it.
We're just going to pause for a moment for those who are participating via Zoom to make sure that they have access to the PowerPoint. If you could please give us a minute.
Do we have a link? So moving forward. On the project team, I had introduced some members of the municipal team with the City of Lynn. Here in the audience, Danielle Smith, Michael Donovan, Laura Stockfish, Lauren Drago, and the City of Lynn School Building Committee. With LeftField Project Management, which is the OPM for this project, Tim Baker and Lynn Stapleton. And Greg DiCarlo. Thanks. With Raymond Design Associates, which is the project architect, Jean Raymond, and Steve Watchhorn over there. And coming from BSC Group, my colleague, Diana Walden, who's not here tonight, and myself, Adrienne Lennon. Going over the presentation agenda tonight, I'd like to cover the objective of the MEPA filing before the Commonwealth, talk about the project a little bit in high summary, give you some description about how we got to this place, some of the alternatives that we had to go through the School Building Committee and MSBA process to arrive at this site location and the process that we are now going through with both the legislature and with MEPA, an assessment of the impacts to the community and to the environment that we are going to be affecting, the statutory and regulatory standards and requirements we need to address as part of the permitting, and mitigation measures. At the end, we'll have an opportunity for questions or comments. If you see a slide that you would like to go back to, just raise your hand and I will mark it on my notes. So this is your first look at the Pickering Middle School project. It is one of the renderings that we have been working with as part of the design development. Here we are covering the public involvement strategy, and part of the permitting that we're doing requires a community outreach and engagement plan and schedule. This is a standard protocol with the Commonwealth for the MEPA filing, and it is especially important because this community does have priority populations and environmental justice populations within the census tracts. So our MEPA permitting approach in this case is to file what's called an expanded environmental notification form and request what is called a single environmental impact report. This way, we're streamlining permitting and front-loading our public engagement strategy and our design submission to the state so that we're able to collect feedback from them as early as possible in the process, which expedites permitting and also supports the project moving forward through the MSBA process. The highest hurdle with MEPA for this project is MEPA and the Article 97 disposition process. Article 97 is a limited conservation protection that can be placed upon public lands and private lands, which will prevent it from being available for development. In the outreach program, we have laid out a calendar through the fall of going out into the community to try to access members of the community that will be impacted by the project. This began in July with the ongoing project website, and we will link that at the very end. So if you haven't had an opportunity to look at it, please do now. It's definitely the #1 resource for updated information on the project. Beginning in August, we set out flyers for the community to come and attend this public forum. We have been producing press releases and postings in social media and blog sites to try to generate some interest and access to the project. After the forum, we will be opening a survey that you will be able to access by QR code and ask and answer a couple of questions about the project so that we're able to gather testimonial feedback and really understand what matters to you with the project. Once we have closed that survey, we'll be a little bit farther along in design and we'll have an opportunity to provide another public forum where we can report that survey feedback and what we've learned, and also tell you a little bit more about the project and if it may have changed as a result of what we learned from the community. This is a look at the project, and for some of you, I realize this may be the first time, but the new Pickering Middle School will serve 1,100 students in grades 6 through 8 in 183,834 gross square feet. The project brings equity to the district, where the recently constructed Thurgood Marshall Middle School has elevated programming and facilities in Lynn Public Schools. The building will be 5 stories high, with play areas and open fields constructed on the existing Magnolia Avenue Park. So you can see here on the site, we are inside of the existing Pickering Middle School, and behind us is the playing field for the Little League program. Here we have the Sisson School, and this is the proposed location of the new Pickering Middle School, which is largely a surface parking lot at this time. Parking and transportation will need to take place through the existing Magnolia Park site. Magnolia Park is going to be conserved as a pocket park on the frontage of Magnolia Ave, where the facilities that are currently existing on Magnolia Ave will be rebuilt. We do have some space for an open playing field on the lower portion, so we are retaining green space on the site as well. The building itself on Canomo Ave and on the access of the entry will rise at 4 stories at grade, and because it is lower in the back, that is where it will be a 5-story building. This is the preliminary schedule for the project. I want to highlight to you where we are located now. This is August of 2023, currently in schematic design, where we are working through some of the challenges of working with a multi-level site and also the constraints of the site, although we have some requirements for parking and facilities that we need to make. We will make another submission to the MSBA to move the schedule forward and are hoping to begin construction in the summer of 2024. Right now, we are in Article 97 disposition process with the legislature, and it overlaps with the MEPA filing, which is with the Commonwealth and can take up to a year. Arriving at this site required the school building committee to review many possible sites for the new Pickering Middle School. Those sites included Gowdy Park, the Union Hospital site, the Broadway site, and the Rockdale Avenue site. Now, I'm aware that this project actually made it through site selection in the past and arrived at a different site, which was very challenging for the community and ultimately was not a successful location for the school. So the school building committee took this very seriously and tried to consider the best available option for both the district and the community in selecting the Magnolia Avenue site. So these sites were eliminated for various reasons, but largely because ultimately the Magnolia Avenue Park site and our ability to operate the design within it was going to be the most feasible and amenable option to the community. The sites that were selected are the existing Pickering site and the Magnolia Park site. The challenge on the Magnolia Park site is that it is conserved by Article 97 limited protection. That is to say, it is a park, it is understood as a park, and construction and development on the site of any kind that is not pursuant to the interest of public lands and active and passive recreation is not allowed. This is just a table showing the preliminary process by which we were evaluating sites. Many sites were actually going to be subject to Article 97 disposition, including Dowdy Park, and other sites were private sites that were going to need to be acquired as part of the project. And because we weren't able to identify exactly what was going on those sites in the first place, there is an open risk to building on private parcels. On the site itself, we evaluated multiple different options for constructing the school. Here you can see Pickering and Sisson reconstruction combination in the top left. Here you can see we assigned the entire Pickering School to the location of the Magnolia Park. Here we had decided that we could potentially do a bridge to the existing surface parking area and also build the Pickering School on the parkland. And then finally and ultimately, the school building committee decided that the best thing to do is to consolidate the school, even though it would be a taller building, onto one location and conserve as much of the open space as possible, make space available for parking and transportation, and provide all of the services in line across the school project or the school project site. A couple of photos of the existing conditions. I think everybody here is probably very familiar with them. But this is the school site. As you can see it on the other side, we have a playground on the frontage of Magnolia Avenue. There is a diamond playing field. There is an open field and also surface parking and surface play area that's used right now by the Sisson School. Siting of the building has been very complicated, in part because we have an elevation change that we need to work through in terms of moving vehicles like buses, many buses across the site, among other things, parking, and those requirements that change our ability to really work on the site and also within the traffic constraints of this neighborhood. Ultimately, we were able to put most of the building up on the higher elevation and keep most of the parking and transportation on the lower elevation. This will be safer for students and also for transportation. Here's an opportunity to look at the proposed building floor plans. This is not a complete design, but it is a really exciting part of the school building development project. Everybody really wants to know what the inside will look like and the treatments of the school. You can see it's going to be a small, compact building. We will have a lot of windows and a lot of lights into the building and an opportunity to break up programming a little bit across those floors so that students will enjoy the entire school while they're there. In front of MEPA, the Massachusetts Environmental Permitting Act office, we are subject to 3 thresholds, which require us to file this EENF and request this EIR. The first is the disposition of land. And that means that we need to request not only locally, but also at the state level and before MEPA the approval to dispose of the Article 97 protection that currently exists on the Magnolia Park site. This is a complex process because the Commonwealth requires that you provide one-for-one replacement of any loss of Article 97 protected lands and facilities for their value somewhere else in the community and as close to the existing site as possible. The second threshold before MEPA that we have a concern with is specifically wetlands, waterways, and tidelands. And you may not think that if you understand the site and know it very well. However, the lower elevation of the site in Magnolia Park is actually in a floodplain. And therefore, it is qualifying as an other wetland. So while there is not open water there is an issue of compensatory flood storage that must be addressed. Because in the eyes of MEPA, aerial flooding is a problem that continues to get worse. And any new construction that requires any funding from the Commonwealth or from a Commonwealth community must consider all risks of climate change impacts. And this is, of course, one of them. I think this summer we're learning it more than ever before. The third MIPA threshold is transportation. This is because we are consolidating schools and we will be increasing the student load and the population load on the site to 1,100 students. And we anticipate the generation of 2,000 or more new average daily trips onto roadways and providing access to a single location. This is not related to busing. It is specifically related to the volume of population that we are expecting to now be coming onto this site and how that population will be serviced, likely by vehicles. Looking at the Magnolia Avenue Park and its current protection under Article 97, we have to consider all the facilities on the site. So this park has the baseball diamond that is currently in use by the Little League, a second baseball diamond, a tot lot and basketball courts, and open field space, which is also in consideration before Article 97 disposition. There is a set of tennis courts that are adjacent to the site, and they actually exist on school property and not on municipal property, so they are not considered as part of the Article 97 disposition. The transfer is going to require both parcels that are associated with Magnolia Avenue to be released from Article 97 protection. That makes for a total of 5.8 acres between the two parcels at Magnolia Park to be released. The process of releasing parcels from Article 97 protection requires the affirmative, unanimous vote of the Conservation Commission and the Parks Commission to release the parcels from Article 97 protection, and those referrals to the City Council, where it is required to have a 2/3 majority vote in support of the disposition of the parcels, and also the approval of the mayor for the disposition of the parcels before it can then be forwarded to the state legislature, where both the House and the Senate have to approve by a 2/3 vote of the disposition of the parcels. It is signed then by the governor, and concurrently, it is filed before the MIPA filing office. So the Commonwealth of Massachusetts MIPA office is watching to see if the parcels are also being properly disposed of through the local boards, the City Council, the mayor, and also the state legislature. Here in Lynn, on August 8th, the City Council approved by majority of the disposition of these two parcels. And on August 24th, it's okay. The House and Senate and Governor will be, the properties were forwarded up to the legislature for the House and Senate to review when they come back into session in September. Facilities on the site include the playground and basketball court will be provided by the project. They are part of the project scope, and not only for community recreational purposes, but also may be considered as part of the project. So you can have it both ways when you're replacing the site. In addition, there will be surface playing areas that are associated with specifically school programming. The baseball field, which occupies a little more than an acre, will remain and be conveyed back to Article 97 protection after the completion of the project. So this baseball field in the corner that is behind the existing Pickering field is not going to be impacted by the project. Now, the replacement parcel for this project was decided to be the Parkland Avenue parcel, which is somewhat related to the original siting of the Pickering Middle School project several years ago. Part of Article 97 disposition requirements around the one-for-one replacement is not only the facilities, but also the open land. and the community's ability to be resilient in the face of climate change by way of providing carbon sequestration services and flood storage capacity services by virtue of there being soil and trees on the site. So this is an excellent site for us to use for the replacement parcel. It is very close to the existing school and the existing site. It is only a half a mile away, which is exceptional for replacement parcels. And it is associated with the Breeds Reservoir and the dog park that is existing there already. So this is a great opportunity for the community to view a parcel that is already being used for open space and recreation services and actually protect it more formally than it ever has been. As you can see, the Breeds Reservoir parcel is actually 40 acres large. It is a big, big site, and it runs right up against the water resource. We have decided to subdivide a portion of the parcel in the front, on the frontage of the Parkland Ave roadway, so that we are, in fact, improving and increasing the environmental value of the site behind it, because we will be eliminating one of the points of access to the site in the rear. So we're finding our way to that one-for-one replacement in acreage and service. And in addition to that, we are providing this secondary benefit of making it even more difficult for anything to happen to the parcel behind it because of the protection in front. In the subject of wetlands, waterways, and tidelands, as I mentioned, we do have a floodplain issue to address. We do have the 100-foot buffer zone just on the front of Magnolia Avenue to the water resource across the street. And we also have the 100-year floodplain that we are working through with MEPA, in addition to the more formalized land protection. As you can see, MEPA has actually changed the Zone A floodplain boundary pursuant to maps that they will be promulgating in the course of this project timeline, which requires us to look forward in our permitting efforts. So much of the site is predicted to be impacted by rising water and is predicted to be required to provide compensatory flood storage. You cannot have any structures that will push water around the site and force it off of the site, for example, into the neighborhood. And then the third threshold is the transportation threshold, which we talked about. We are anticipating additional vehicle trips, and it will require us to conduct a greenhouse gas study wherein we will be capturing by model the amount of new additional greenhouse gas and providing a mitigation plan for that. The Commonwealth is really committed to reducing greenhouse gas impacts, and especially in environmental justice communities. So we will be making a very concerted effort to limit our overall impact once we have the findings of the greenhouse gas survey back. The site itself for construction will be cut and regraded to create an appropriate, consistent, and stable slope to support the roadway, sidewalks, buildings, and new stormwater system. The project will convert a portion of the previously maintained lawn and recreational area into development, including a retaining wall, roadways, sidewalks, and parking, and of course requires this disposition of Article 97 protection from the Magnolia Avenue parkland parcels. The next steps for the project include continuing to move the Article 97 and MEPA process forward. And in addition, as we get closer and closer with design, specifically around compensatory flood storage and other matters on the site, we will be able to establish a total project budget and final schedule. The total project budget cost was estimated to be approximately $170 million at the preferred schematic design phase. To complete and submit the schematic design submission to MSBA, we need to work through these problems and move forward with permitting. and gain the MSBA approval and sign the project scope and budget agreement with the MSBA. Finally, the City Council will need to approve on the project funding. At that time, we will be able to move forward with beginning the detailed design. If you have any questions about the project and would like to follow along, please do view the project website. You can Google Pickering Middle School building and it comes up first. You can also view the project YouTube channel, link provided, and on your way out the door, please do join the community survey, respond to the questionnaire, give us your feedback. It is a very loose and conversational piece, and we would love to collect your thoughts on the project. We're happy to take any questions.
I have a question on the roadway that comes up on the side of the street. That roadway is only used for deliveries, or is that just all traffic can go up and down that road?
The drive that'll go from the upper part near the Sisson parking lot down towards Magnolia Park. Yeah, that has not been determined one way or another. We are kind of looking at frankly, planning on most of the traffic coming off Magnolia to the front of the new school and then exiting back onto Magnolia at a different place. That drive is there mostly for fire access, and it could be gated or not gated depending on what we have to do with some other.
Next question I have is how far from the house is it? How much space do you think the road is that house?
I believe there's close to 25 feet as a green buffer in which we intend to plant evergreens. And then the road itself, I believe, will probably be 24 feet wide, but it may be less as we finalize the position of the new building.
So Jai, just for we want to hear your questions, and so do the people on Zoom. Would you mind going to the microphone just so the people on Zoom can hear as well, please? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gilberto Hernandez. I'm one of the homeowners back here. That's why I'm asking. I know that we're talking about taking all those trees that are right now where the playground's at. The reason I ask is how much privacy, this is going to be a 5-story building, how much privacy are all our houses going to have? Again, that's one of the concerns we have. Not everybody that owns a house on that side of Magnolia is here today, but I do have concerns. Yeah.
Well, that is why we were pretty cognizant about leaving a wide planting area, and then I don't know that the trees are going to take a while to grow, right? But there's fast-growing evergreens that can come up about 30 feet in a few years.
When you plant them, how tall are they going to be?
Not determined yet, but they could be anywhere from 15 feet, plus.
Yeah. I mean, I know LeftField, for example, built the school where I work at in Market. I mean, great job, everything. There is some stuff, I mean, I'm a hip custodian for that school. And there's a lot of stuff for the building committee. There's stuff you have to look at. I mean, all the pretty is pretty nice, but there's stuff that you have to get your custodians, get your building maintenance guys involved in this, because they're going to tell you there's a lot of stuff that is nice, it's pretty, but it takes a lot longer to get done. For example, everybody's going to LED lights. Beautiful. Just tell your guys it's not going to take 5 minutes to change a light bulb anymore. There's stuff that has to go, they have to know. There's stuff there as well, parking lot. Have you guys planned where the snow's going to go? And you get a big snowstorm. Did I tell you, Lucretia Brown School, beautiful school, go there. I invite you all, I'll give you a tour myself. Beautiful school. But when we get a big snowstorm, there's no way to put the snow. We're blocking the parking lots. So then when the staff comes in, what happens to them? Where are they going to park? And this is for everybody who's involved with the project. It's just questions. I mean, your designs are great. My son went to Marshall when it opened up. Beautiful school. I love the way that school's planned. It's built perfect. They're just taking consideration. There's a lot of other stuff besides the nice, traffic. Right now, I live here. I see the traffic every day. When parents park their cars and they walk the field to grab their kids. And when that parking lot's built and it's full of teachers' cars, where are the parents going to park? Because you're talking about 1,200. How many go to the school now? There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of questions we have. Not everybody's here. I'm just trying to voice what I have here in my head right now that will come up eventually. Because the school's going to be big. 5 stories is a big building. Big building. 1,200 kids is a lot. There's high schools that have that. There's going to be middle school. So just questions. I mean, I know it's a lot just to go out there like that, but we have concerns.
No, that's the purpose of the meeting, tonight and all the other meetings. So,
anytime, I appreciate everybody on the panel here this time. Building committee, I appreciate all your time.
Yeah, we appreciate the feedback.
Definitely.
So thank you.
If you guys have questions about that, I'm here. I'm gonna ask, when this is done, you can sit down and talk. And like I said, if anybody wants to go there and see the building, I'll show you the beautiful building, but there's stuff that you got to take into consideration. There's a lot. There's more. I'm not gonna take more of your time, obviously, but we can go on for an hour or two. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. I just have a couple questions. My name is Michael Satterwhite, and what have we done with regards to the reputation of the old building? I know that when we brought the new Marshall Middle School, we set aside money to tear it down, and that hasn't taken place yet. So what is the plan for this existing building when it's done? And have we taken into consideration to let the neighbors know that when the new Pickering is done, the construction can still take place to tear down the old one?
To date, the plan has been to take advantage of this building in one form or another, and it hasn't been defined or approved, but there is a lot of enrollment growth in the district, and there's no plans currently to take this building down. Instead, maybe to do some limited improvements and use it to house overflow at the elementary level.
So it would expand Sisson? Is that the plan?
Possibly, yes. I don't know if it would be one big elementary school or 2 schools. I don't even know if that's what's going to end up happening, because that's under the control of the school committee. But there's no plan to take this down right now.
And that's why it's not a part of your presentation tonight? That's my assumption. Okay. In addition to that, obviously the concerns I have is we obviously built a new class school some time ago. I went there when it first opened, and then we had issues with where it was built. There have been people that said that underneath this location that you picked is not an ideal spot. What has been done to test, I guess, the soil or the land to make sure that it's going to be feasible to build there?
Yeah, we, when Adrian had the slides up of the various places that we looked on this combined site to build, the reason we ended up placing it kind of to the other side of Sisson is that's more native soils as opposed to fill that's down on Magnolia Park. So there has been an extensive amount of digging and test borings out in that park and up here, which has kind of led us to this area as the most advantageous from a soils perspective. And we're also really well aware of what happened at Classical, believe me. And when we designed Thurgood Marshall, we made sure that, it didn't happen again, and we will make sure it doesn't happen again here.
Obviously, we end up having to deal with it, and it does disrupt education. It's a school, so I appreciate that you have that into consideration. And my last question has to do with parking. I'm assuming all of the areas that look like parking spots are going to be available to the schools, not just Magnolia.
That is correct. And we actually designed the Magnolia parking to not only, well, on the whole site, right, to provide parking for the existing system, an assumption that this school may have teachers as well, and the new Pickering. So we're providing parking, assuming this whole campus is occupied.
And I might be mistaken, but I saw some language in some of this material I have that's talking about fifth major classrooms. Can you define what that means in this platform of the yes?
They have kind of 4 core subjects, you know, science, math, social studies, and English language. And then the 5th major, some people might call it an elective, and Deb, correct me if I'm wrong.
Unified arts is another, we tend to call it unified arts.
But it's another subject beyond the core subjects.
And the special education aspect of it, I'm assuming we're including someone within our special education department to have some say. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Tiffany Magnolia. I'm just wondering if you can talk a little bit about what happens to the temporary classrooms that are stuck onto the end of Sisson in this process. Right now, Sisson doesn't have any extra space. Are classes going to be moved? Are they going to be demolished prior to beginning construction? Just talk a little bit about the combination of enrollment and then the physical building. Thank you.
You're welcome. So that's been a significant thought process. How are you going to build this and operate both schools on the site while it's under construction? So the plan at this point is to, when the contractor first comes on site during a summer, actually take this space right here and take the auditorium offline for the 1.5 years that it's going to take to construct the new Pickering and construct temporary classrooms in this space. And you can see they'll all have windows. And then so the idea is to replace those 4 classrooms, plus there's an office or 2 there within the existing Pickering spaces that are not used for classrooms. And then we'll be able to take down the modular addition and go on with the construction of the new Pickering. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, just to chime in, I mean, it's a great question, and I think the project team and the building committee has been very mindful of trying to address the potential impacts on the operations of the current Pickering and Sisson. And also, it also helps us think ahead. So when we're thinking about what's going to happen with this building overall, to the extent that we're creating class space for the district, it really helps us for the next steps for the Lynn Public Schools and thinking about what's going to happen at the elementary level. We all know that there's a lot of work. This is going to be huge for the district at the secondary level for the middle schools. We all know we have a lot of work coming in the elementaries and the spaces that are needed there to have the potential for swing space and additional classrooms that investment creates, not just for the operation here at Sisson during construction, but also for the kind of the next steps as a district, I think will be really valuable.
So like a good project manager, Lynn is reminding me something else about the phasing, which is when we do create the new temporary classrooms in here so we can remove the modulars, the thought is, or the plan is, that these become classrooms for Pickering students and that classrooms closest to the Sisson wing would be used by Sisson students so that Sisson kind of stays as a contiguous entity.
And separated.
And separated.
I have 2 questions on the webinar. One is, could they build a parking garage to provide more space rather than using up some lawn?
I'll just take a shot at it, but frankly, parking garages are very expensive and the project budget just will not support that.
And then the second question is there a new timeline
We have extended schematic design to refine our budget and schedule by a couple of months. The reason it went 2 months is because MSBA board that has to approve the project only meets every other month. So instead of going to the October board, we're now going to the December board. This is giving us more time to be able to be certain on price and also certain on what MSBA's portion of the funding will be.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. So I serve on the school building committee with my colleagues, a lot of folks in the audience. Last week, myself, Brian Castellanos, member of Gately from the school committee, and Councilor Starling went out to Canoma Ave, and we walked around Magnolia as well, where we brought some good folks from the community to today's forum to discuss some of those concerns. There was a concern that was brought up by one of the Canoma street residents. Apparently there was a rumor around will there be any point of talk about eminent domain? I think there was that going on. Could we answer that?
Yeah, there's everything that's being proposed is on city-owned land, so there's absolutely no need for any eminent domain takings.
There was also concerns around solar panels that were going to be disturbed on house number 16, 20, and 24, and there were several others that might be impacted by the size of the building. How high it would be, there were some concerns. We were actually pretty shocked. I had never thought about that. It was very nice that we got to learn about that issue. I'm not sure if we've looked into it. We should look into that. Because there are some contracts that go into owning solar panels that I didn't know about. Still not an expert on it, but it does look pretty complicated. I'd like to make sure that we touch base with those folks that might be impacted.
Yeah, if we can get the location of the homes, we can probably do some shadow studies to see if they're impacted and what time of year they might be.
I think member Gage wants to share about the buildings.
So on the kitchens, the size of the kitchens, I know at 30 Marshall, people that work in the kitchen have spoken to me about the sinks. The size of the sinks that they don't fit, the pots and pans in, they can't put them in the so maybe you need to talk to the cooks over at 30 Marshall. Also, that the size in between, I didn't quite understand it, but like when you bring in a large quantity of things, you need a wide aisle. They don't believe that the aisles are wide, and they would like you to ask, someone from Marshall to talk to you about that so that you could plan this so that they're wide enough and the sinks are deep enough. Thank you.
Not a problem. We've had meetings with the food service director and one of his folks to get the preliminary layout done, but we have no problem reaching out to get details like that.
I would highly suggest you talk to the cooks because they're the ones that are in the kitchen doing the work and moving the materials around. Sometimes management has a good understanding, but they're not doing the walk, so you need to talk to the walkers on the side. Thank you.
Sounds great.
I have another question. The new student body population is estimated at around 1,000. What is the current student population, and will that impact traffic? And were traffic studies conducted? We're looking up the exact enrollment right now.
So I believe when we started, the enrollment at Pickering was 550 students.
Yeah, you're correct, 556 actually.
Okay, 556. It is planned for 1,100, so approximately 550 more. We have done preliminary traffic studies, and part of what we've been trying to understand is how the district or the city will redistrict their 3 middle schools and where those 550 pupils are going to come from when they travel up to this site. And I think we're narrowing in on, Deb, correct me if I'm wrong, getting an idea where, how the traffic might flow through the city. And at that point, we'll finalize the traffic study and have recommendations, not only for this site, but off-site mitigation.
We do have a team, members from the city, Laura Virago is part of that team, and members of the school department who are looking at multiple different versions of ways to cut the city in different places to see what's the best alternative. We have not come to a final decision yet, but we're getting very close.
Any questions online? Anyone else here?
One last question. Do we know if there's going to be any blasting, and if so, how long, or do you have a schedule if you have to?
Yeah, we do not anticipate any blasting. Doesn't mean when we do a little bit further studies, there might be a little teeny bit, but for the most part, this is nice sandy soil.
Hi, my name is Colleen Bacon, and I am a resident on Kahoma Ave, and I'm also a Lynn public school teacher. So I have a couple of things to ask, and I want to advocate for the children. When the new Pickering is built, are we going to bring back foods, clothing, wood shop, metal shop, the things that I had when I went to Pickering?
Deb, you want to?
Sure.
I mean, we are, but.
So part of the Unified Arts, so Marshall Middle School does have cooking, sewing, carpentry, is technology. So yes, I would think that that will be part of the design of this building.
Excellent. And then when the change happens and the children are not going to be coming to this building, will Sisson acquire the gym, the cafeteria, and the auditorium?
You mean once the new building is built?
Yeah, I mean, it'll depend on the progression of what we're doing with the elementary level, but that space will be available.
Okay. And I did hear some scuttlebutt, I don't know if this is the truth, that the administration building might be relocating here? All right, someone's just saying something.
One of those Lynn rumors.
You know how that works. I wanted to ask, Mayor, is there any way when you redo the park down here, if we could get a splash pad for the kids?
So the space here will be part of the school grounds. And so I think the design is gonna, for the playground is gonna be limited to what is here now, in part because of the space considerations. We are trying to add splash pads when we can, because I do think it's an important mechanism to help our families stay cool in the summer. But certainly something we can look at in the future. Right now it's Flax, Kylie, Barry, McManus, and we should be moving to more of those. But I don't think a plan to have space for that on this particular site. Yeah.
If not here, how about
Thank you. Yeah. Definitely take a look at that. Yeah. All right, no further questions online either. Nobody else here. So thank you all so much for being here, for the thoughtful questions, for being a part of this process with us. It's really exciting for us to be advancing on a product that is so near and dear to the hearts of so many here in the city. That's going to be a real linchpin, I think, of the future of Lynn Public Schools and the future of this city. So thank you all for being a part of that.